Alright guys, today I'll be reviewing Banshee. This is the 2014 B&M invert here, and I know a lot of people crap on it for not being as whippy or objectively aggressive as some of the other older inverts, but honestly this is a top tier invert, and I'll explain why in this review. When you walk up to this ride, you're going to notice that it has an amazing presentation. I really like the colors on this, but of course what you're going to notice is that Banshee sign. It's probably a top 3 sign in the world. It looks amazing, especially if you get the fog and the lights. And then in the queue line, you've got some gravestones, some references to past attractions, especially Son of Beast. And not a whole lot else in the queue, but luckily I had fast lane, so the most I ever waited for this was less than 5 minutes. But I bet that could be really annoying just standing out in the cattle pen. You do get some really good shots of Banshee though. Once you're actually in the station, you're going to notice it sort of looks like a church. It's really cool, like an old run-down church. I really like the vibe they went for here. I really wish they went all out with it, like they did for Mystic Timbers, and they really made it one of the best themed coasters in the world, but unfortunately that's not the case. So you're going to get assigned a row or just request a row, because you can do that at Kings Island, and I would recommend trying the front and the back. There's not one that's like a lot better than the other. And honestly, I would say my favorite row's probably back row far unload side, but front row load side is also really good. And I would say specifically, in the back row, the unload side's better, but in the front row, the load side's better. The restraints on this can get quite annoying. They can dig into your collarbone, especially on the brake run, but you have to deal with it. I don't personally notice it on the ride. There's only one moment of airtime, and fortunately, you can still feel the airtime with these vests. They're not like Val Ravens. They're more like Wild Eagles. Maybe not quite as loose as Wild Eagles, but still pretty decent. The operations are excellent on this ride, just like the rest of Kings Island. So when you get the all clear, you're going to start out of the station, turn to the left, go up that lift hill, and then head down your first drop. But not before hearing that Banshee wail, because that's definitely a cool feature. Again, theming. It's really good, but I really just wish they did more of it. But anyways, you're going to head down the first drop. In the front rows, this delivers a bit of whip, and I think in general this first drop's better on the unload side. You get a bit of laterals on that load side, but the unload's definitely a bit stronger. But of course, you don't get the airtime in the front row like you do in the back. You definitely get popped out of your seat here. It's not super strong, but it's definitely a nice little floater pop. And you also get thrown around violently if you're on that unload side. Unfortunately, on the load side, you don't get the airtime. It's really weird. Even in the back row, you don't get airtime on the load side. But after that, you're going to hit the valley. Most of these valleys are pretty intense, this one included. You feel the speed here, you feel the positives and everything. And then you go up into the Immelman. This one's a pretty fun floaty inversion, just nothing too good here. But then you head through the vertical loop. This element's actually very intense. It's definitely more intense than your average B&M vertical loop. It's really good. Definitely expect some G's on there. Expect your legs to go a bit numb. But that's not even close to the most intense moment on the ride. After that, you'll hit another decent valley before heading through the 0G roll. This one's definitely better on the load side and in the front row. In the back, you kind of just float through it. But in the front, you get some pretty good laterals combined with hang time. So it's an interesting combination, especially on that unload side. On the load side, it's a bit weaker, but you still get it. After that, you'll head through the pretzel knot. And my hot take of the day is this is more intense than Matsu's Batwing. I'm sorry, I felt more G's on this than the Batwing. I really did. It's a bit more sustained and a bit more intense in my opinion. The G's are so sustained on this, it feels like your legs are numb for over 4 seconds. It's really good. And your legs are definitely numb on this, at least mine were. I feel like this is a back row element, but it's definitely close with the front row. The transition going into the valley of the pretzel knot, aka the dive loop, is pretty floaty, nothing too special, but again, it's about that valley. And then the Immelman coming out of it sustains those G's. You really feel the leg numbing there. And then after that, you enter the most intense part of the ride, which is this vertical loop going into the upwards helix. Oh my god, this is probably the second most intense part of any B&M invert behind Alpengeist's Cobra Roll. Actually, no, it's definitely the second most. It's ridiculous. I do think this part is slightly better in the front, but it's close either way. It's just so intense. You start with the vertical loop and you feel the G's, you feel the leg numbing a bit, but then it just keeps getting stronger as you progress through the loop. And I grade out on the pretzel knot, but I really grade out here. I mean, the bottom of this vertical loop is insane, and then it just gets even more intense when you hit the upwards helix. It's just such a good element. The second vertical loop transitioning into this upwards turnaround is one of the most intense moments on any coaster. And then after that, it transitions into the heartline roll, which is such a beautiful contrast with the intensity and power you just felt. You go from feeling what feels like 5+ G's for 10 seconds. I know it's not quite that intense, but it's very Pantherian-like. And then you just hit this 0G moment where you're perfectly hanging upside down. You get perfect hang time on it, not like Air Force 1 style, but more like Flash at Great Adventure style. It's really solid. You're just perfectly floating out of your seat for a few seconds there, getting a bit of laterals throughout it too. And then after that, you hit some more insane positive G's, especially in the back row. You'll gray out again there, and then you hit the brakes, and that's your ride on Banshee. What I would argue is the most intense B&M invert out there. In terms of whip and laterals, it's definitely the weakest, but in terms of positives, it is a top 10 coaster I've ever been on for them. There's 3 moments on this ride that make me gray out and just have my legs completely numb, and they're all extremely sustained moments, especially that vertical loop going into that upwards turnaround. And most of the other moments are intense too, unless it's that slow hang time filled heartline roll or the airtime and laterals filled first drop. Now, a lot of people claim this ride is rough. I didn't understand it in 2021, and I still don't understand it in 2025. This and Orion were butter smooth for me, although I'll say Diamondback was an absolute rattle trap. But if you know me, I wish this had a bit of roughness, but that's okay. I know the average person would not be able to handle this ride with roughness with how intense it is. So for Banshee's final score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It is my second favorite invert, and it's handily my second favorite invert, way ahead of Matu, and honestly right next to Alpengeist in my rankings. I still can't quite put it over Alpengeist just because of the speed on Alpengeist, and then the Cobra roll is just absurdity. This ride is currently borderline top 40 for me, which is insane. I didn't think this thing could even be borderline top 60, but here we are. It really shocked me. This is definitely one of the rides at Kings Island that impressed me the most when I returned to Kings Island. Now, in terms of where it ranks for inverts in the world, I don't think it would be top 5. There's probably more than 3 inverts overseas that are better just because it feels like all the good inverts are overseas. I mean, Nemesis, Black Mamba, Katoon, Python, Pyrenees. And the main one that I draw comparisons to Banshee, Osiris. I feel like Osiris just looks like Banshee on steroids, so after knowing how much I like this ride, I am extremely hyped to ride Osiris, but Banshee is still definitely one of the best inverts in the world, and definitely a top 5 coaster at Kings Island, easily. So let me know what you guys think of Banshee down in the comments below. Let me know if you like this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.